This morning, the desperate search for an autistic teen who wandered off into the bush in freezing temperatures north of Melbourne. A murder investigation begins in Sydney's west after the discovery of a young woman's body. And the police officer accused of murdering George Floyd appears in court for the first time.
This is 7 News with Ann Sanders.
Good morning. Emergency crews are racing against time to find a teenage boy with autism who spent the night in freezing conditions in dense Victorian bushland. Live now to Cassie Zervos, who's at the search location at Mount Disappointment. Cassie, how many people are searching for this young boy?
Good morning, Anne. Well, there's more than 100 search crews out here this morning. The police air wing, the mounted branch officers on motorbikes and, of course, concerned community locals have offered their time to help in this search here this morning. Police are remaining optimistic, but as those hours tick over, it is becoming more concerning for search crews and, of course, for William's family.
I hope they find him soon. Cassie Zervos reporting. Thank you, Cassie. Homicide detectives have been called to a home in Sydney's west after the discovery of a woman's body. She's believed to be the 20-year-old occupant of the home in Cambridge Park. Andrew Denny has more.
Well, police have had this home at Cambridge Park in Sydney's northwest sealed off as a crime scene since last night after finding the body of a 20-year-old woman inside. At this stage, specialist police are likely to remain here for the rest of today, gathering evidence.
And in breaking news, we've just heard that a 30-year-old man who was known to the woman has been arrested. He's now being interviewed by police. The fallout continues from the Black Lives Matter rallies that took place across Australia over the weekend. A major hospitality group, Navara Venues, says it will defy the coronavirus lockdown and open to any numbers, despite the 20-guest limit for weddings in New South Wales.
We just cannot we don't want to deal with upset brides anymore, upset clients anymore, because it's not fair on them. And the government obviously over the weekend clearly showed that they allowed to have 15,000 or 20,000 people without.
Health authorities say they will be watching over the next fortnight to see if the rallies have led to a spike in coronavirus cases. Small businesses have welcomed further support unveiled by the Treasurer, with tax breaks extended to encourage investment. Live to Olivia Leeming in Canberra. Olivia, tax relief will be available for another 6 months.
Yeah, until the end of the year. Good morning, Anne. Businesses being urged to invest in new machinery, tools, vehicles worth up to $150,000, and they can claim the full tax benefits this year instead of over several through the instant asset write-off. The government insists these changes are not set and forget, that they will continue working with the sector to lessen the impact on parents. Anne?
Olivia Leeming in Canberra. Thank you, Olivia. NRL star Josh Reynolds has spoken to 7 News following reports he failed to a roadside drug test while driving on an expired licence. The 31-year-old is now fighting to clear his name, claiming a false positive is the reason he failed the test. Samantha Brett reports.
Well, NRL star Josh Reynolds is vehemently denying that he failed a roadside drug test. Reynolds was back this morning here at Concord Oval training with the West Tigers, but certainly this is not something that he wants to be back in the headlines for. He only just a few months ago was facing those domestic violence charges, which were then later dropped by police.
Thanks, Sam. A former Minneapolis policeman accused of killing unarmed black man George Floyd has made his first court appearance, handcuffed and wearing an orange jumpsuit. Derek Chauvin knelt on Mr. Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes while he was being arrested, igniting 2 weeks of protests. Ashley Mullaney reports.
2 weeks after the deadly arrest that claimed the life of George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis police officer, faced court charged with second-degree murder. Joe Biden, the presidential hopeful, meeting privately with the Floyd family before he's laid to rest tomorrow beside his mother.
Thanks, Ash. A decision is being made on whether to reopen 25 kilometres of coast in far northern New South Wales after a fatal shark attack on Sunday. 6-year-old Rob Pedretti was bitten while he was surfing near Kingscliff, and despite heroic efforts from 2 men to save him, he died on the beach. An order to catch and kill the shark was granted, but it's since expired. Yesterday, other sharks were spotted in the area. A transatlantic war of words has broken out between Prince Andrew and federal investigators in the United States. They've formally requested to interview the Prince over his links to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. But Prince Andrew's lawyers say he's already offered his assistance. Sarah Greenhalgh has more.
Well, this has really quickly escalated into an incredibly public tit-for-tat. US prosecutors want to speak with Prince Andrew as a witness, not a suspect, as part of their investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sexual offending. The US Attorney General has also spoken about the saga, saying that at this stage there are no plans to extradite Prince Andrew to the States. They simply want him to give evidence.
Next in 7 News, a woman targeted by an improvised explosive device outside her home. And New Zealand is virus-free, but when will travellers from Australia be allowed to enter? A man's been charged with threatening to kill New South Wales Police Minister David Elliott. The 25-year-old was arrested at his home at Belmont, south of Newcastle, after allegedly making the threats on Facebook. Inside his home, police found cannabis, as well as paintball guns and ammunition. He's been granted bail to appear in court next month. There's been a terrifying explosion outside a Sydney home overnight. A woman has been taken to hospital with burns after she went outside to investigate a series of loud bangs. Natasha Squarey reports.
Well, residents here say they were woken by 3 huge explosions just before midnight. This vision is now key evidence to help police track down the suspects.
New Zealand is now officially COVID-free, but there's no decision on opening borders to other countries. Restrictions were reduced to level 1 at midnight, allowing unlimited gatherings at public events, shops and restaurants. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern says no decision has been made on when to open a travel bubble.
What both sides need to make sure is that we're confident that we're not risking each other's status.
New Zealand was one of the first countries to impose a total lockdown and has had no new infections for the past 17 days. Checking the financial markets now, the ASX has reopened after the public holiday, gaining ground in morning trade. It's up 158 points. The Australian dollar is buying just over 70 US cents, 75 Japanese yen and $1.06 New Zealand. Next in 7 News, Sport with Jim Wilson, including the latest heading into the AFL's restart, and West Tigers veteran Josh Reynolds addresses his failed roadside drug test.
Good morning, everyone. St George Illawarra has called an emergency board meeting to discuss whether to sack coach Paul McGregor as soon as today. The Dragons' embarrassing loss to the Bulldogs yesterday turned up the heat even further on McGregor. He's promising to fight on, but concedes his time may be up.
I understand the situation, and it doesn't help the players, doesn't help the club, doesn't help the fans or the sponsors. So, if that decision's made, I'll wear it.
2010 Premiership star Dean Young, an assistant to McGregor, looms as the man most likely to take the reins if the board decides to axe the head coach. Well, as you saw earlier with Anne, West Tigers star Josh Reynolds has told 7 News he's 100% confident he'll be cleared of drug driving. The 31-year-old was pulled over early yesterday and was found to be driving with an expired licence. Police then administered a roadside drug test, which came up positive for illicit drugs. A second test, though, at the police station was negative. Reynolds is adamant the first result was a false positive.
Mate, are you pretty confident you test negative to the third sample?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And you've renewed your licence yet?
Yeah, renewed, mate.
Reynolds there with Tom Saker this morning. Now, disgraced Cronulla star Bronson Xerri is due to have his B sample tested today after a positive test for anabolic steroids. If the B sample confirms the initial finding, Xerri faces a ban of up to 4 years. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk says there won't be crowds at this weekend's AFL games when the season resumes. Let's go live now to reporter Ryan Daniels on the Gold Coast. Morning, Ryan. When can we expect to see crowds back in stadiums in Queensland?
Yeah, well, Jim, as you said, not this weekend. The Premier has just shut that down. There's still so much to work through, how to separate people, how to make it safe in the COVID world. They'll be sharing this hotel, Royal Pines Resort, with their arch rivals, the Fremantle Dockers. They arrive later this afternoon. From rivals to roommates, who would have thought?
Yeah, it's amazing. Very, very extraordinary times, Ryan. More from Ryan in 7 News in Perth at 6 o'clock. Thanks very much to Ryan. Now, Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane has emerged as another possible venue for the blockbuster heavyweight trilogy fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Bankwest Stadium in Sydney is another option being considered for what will be the biggest fight of 2020.
The Suncorp Stadium is probably one of the best football stadiums in the world. I think it's one of the great boxing venues of the world when it's full. So could it be done here? 100% yes.
The plan is to stage the fight on Boxing Day so it can be broadcast back to the United States on Christmas night. Imagine that, eh? Boxing Day, Sydney, Hobart. You've got the Boxing Day test between Australia and India at the MCG, and you could have this absolute blockbuster fight. It doesn't get much better than that.
Feet up in front of the telly. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Next in 7's Morning News, the national weather forecast with David Brown.
This weather report proudly brought to you by Australian Red Cross.
Time to check our weather forecast now with our meteorologist, David Brown. Good morning, Brownie. How's it looking?
Yes, good morning, Anne. It's that time already. Look, it's been a chilly start to the day for the southern states. In fact, pockets of Melbourne dip below 0 degrees, at -4 in Coldstream in the heart of the Yarra Valley wine country, and that was just a short time ago. Let's go to the weather wall. In fact, we're going to pop into Brisbane. It's unsettled, just the odd shower or two drifting through this afternoon. Forecast top 23, in fact, already reached that high. Sydney is also unsettled. Isolated, brief showers just sailing through. I think all falls less than a millimetre, around 19 degrees for a top. In Melbourne, cold and clear. No wind. Today's top, around 15 degrees. Adelaide too is expecting a cold day, only 14 degrees. Got some high-level cloud sailing through at the moment. As we go to the satellite, have a look at this. We've got this unstable onshore airstream that's driving isolated showers along parts of the central and northern New South Wales coast. High pressure, though, dominates the southern states, hence the very chilly conditions over, well, this morning and again yesterday. We'll see a similar day unfold again tomorrow. Upstream, there's a cold front approaching the Great Australian Bight. There's not much in it. At best, it'll bring just a little bit of rain to the western part of Tassie tomorrow, but the unsettled weather is expected to continue along parts of the eastern seaboard, and of course that includes Sydney. A few showers and around 20 tomorrow. Melbourne, sunny, 16 degrees. Sunny in Adelaide, around 15 after a fresh start. Perth, fine, 24 degrees, but rain developing tomorrow night. That's the latest weather. More at 4 a.m.
See you then, Brownie. Thank you. And that is 7 News to now. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day. Next bulletin is at 4 p.m. I'm Ann Sanders. Thanks for your company. Have a lovely day.